Lou Porter here. This is for your information in the AM, and I have two wonderful people with me today that just makes my heart feel so good. One, many of you know over the course of years, Dr. Sharon Clayton has been associated with KBBG for at least 20 years and has been an invaluable member here at KBBG in so many different ways. We are glad that you are with us. We want to thank you now, and you know how we'll wait. And then here we come, you know, too late, you should have told her that.
Oh,
it just hit her.
It just hit me what you said.
Okay, but the same for my wonderful brother-in-law, Raymond, who I love very much, and the children are glad to see him.
Oh, sure.
Little Zoe made the comment that, she says, you know what, he's my favorite uncle, and I haven't even met him yet. So you had an open door. You had the red carpet, Uncle Raymond, before you ever, got here. So, but going back to where we just were and where we think people are wanting us to be when we don't want to be there, we better start that critical thinking thing. We better start looking and asking, because now, Sharon, something you said about looking in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
I'm saying that unless we do that and think for ourselves, we will forever not get the entire picture. And the big picture is somebody that we have sent with our vote, either at the city, county, state, national level. Those people are going to have an effect on our lives. Why? Because they set policy. They set the policy. And if they, they change the boundaries. Anything that needs to be done, these people that we sit there are in control of that. And even those of us who do vote, we will vote and we'll be so proud. We will be so proud, you just, you can't hardly make you sit down. And then and when's the last time you were in touch with your congressman? So-and-so just happened. Did you call him and tell him that you didn't want him to do the stand your ground thing? They were asking people to call in on that. How do you think that got into being? Policy. So we have got to really start to look at the big picture. Not just that the refrigerator is empty, but who made it be empty?
Yeah, it's when you say policy, I think we talked about Alec here. I talked about that particular organization that is so well heeled that they basically infiltrate the public policy makers at the state level, and all these state laws get in. But you're talking critical thinking, and I want our listeners to know that that's a term, but it describes what we do, because we started this show. We're following a critical thinking model right here on this show. You started with an assumption that they had that we're not going to vote. And you asked us whether we agreed or disagreed, the second step of critical thinking. And then you asked us why, and then we gave you aspects of ourselves that motivate us to make this statement, which is the third step, knowing our standpoint. And the fourth step is basically saying, well, what could they do instead? And we're saying one of the things you can do is to register to vote. And so we have gone through a critical thinking model right here on the show, and all of your shows go through that very same model, taking the assumptions people have about us, challenging those assumptions from our own standpoint and enculturation, and then saying, here's what you can do. So for those of you who think critical thinking is hard, it's being modeled for you on KBBG every week. Every week we come on, we model critical thinking.
Yes.
So that's what we need to do as a community all the time. Figure out what assumptions are being made about us, and then challenge those assumptions, and know why we're challenging them.
Exactly.
Come up with some alternatives.
And having a free voice where you can have your own perspective and not have someone to tell you who you are. That's something.
And I just say, my people, what have we done?
Yeah.
We've taken
Exactly.
the thought processes out of our children. We teach them to answer questions like this, and they don't get a chance to even think. We say, what do you think? And then they think they have to come up with an immediate answer. That's not giving them a chance to anyhow, I'm sorry.
But-
Critical thinking, Lord help us. You know?
Well, wanted to touch on where are we really going in this country when that Martin killing happened. I had no idea that it was already law in I think 20-some states.
Yeah, yeah.
And I try to keep up with what's
Yeah.
going on, and that
Yeah.
totally escaped me. And the other thing that
Yeah.
totally escaped me is when I found out that we were only a vote away from passing it in the state of
In
Iowa.
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I almost had a heart
That's why I
attack.
did that piece on ALEC, which I think people didn't understand as one of the most powerful non-lobbying groups in this country that legislators belong to, that business and industry belongs to.
And what does the
And
acronym?
it's American Legislative, ALEC, something
ALEC.
committee.
Okay.
But what they do is they write public policy,
Mhm.
and their members are able to take it back to their states. It seems as if the policy is coming from the legislative member, but it's coming from this conglomerate of people. And so that's how things get out to the states
That's right.
so rapidly. They pay this fee to belong, and they get some kind of little amenity for being a member. Now, there have been a lot of national legislators who have belonged to this organization, and they're starting to kind of trying to peel away because the election's coming up in November. But we don't always investigate beyond the surface.
That's right.
You know, and what made me think, and I said, well, why are all these states putting these voting things in? And why are all these states, and you keep peeling the layers away, and you find where those ideas are coming from. It's like a huge national think tank
Mhm.
that is writing policy for the states. And I'm not being partisan, but the Republicans have tended to be overrepresented in that particular organization.
Mhm.
And so a lot of the policies that are coming out are control policies, control. And what that stand and defend is, it's a policy to control the movement of people, so to
Certainly.
speak. And it allows you free will to kill somebody unless you shoot a hole in your ceiling like the lady did in Florida, and they arrested her, and she's facing 20 years just for standing and defending by accident, and she shot a hole. Did you hear about that?
I did.
And that's crazy,
It is.
absolutely crazy. Lou, you didn't hear
I
about
didn't.
a young lady who had been abused by her husband,
Yes.
and she had run out of the house. She had been abused previously, and she came back in to the house, and she had a gun, and then he jumped at her again, and the gun went off, but it didn't hit him, it hit the ceiling. She was arrested, and she's
And charged.
and charged.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and the same prosecutor that was
In the
And this-
Trayvon Martin
in the
case.
Trayvon Martin
Yeah.
case is handling it, so it's crazy wild.
Yeah, I think that, again, we get really upset when events tread on our lives, that you almost have to slap you in your face. But we will get very excited, we will call the traditional march, we will buy the candles, we will spend money for the flowers, we will take a stone and put it there. That isn't even where the person's gonna be interred, but it's a remembrance, this is where they ended, their life was ended. We will do all of those things, and then, guess what? Next
Nothing.
week, you can't find nobody. What
They're
happened?
all
Wasn't there
gone.
some concern? I mean, what happened here? What is it that we want to see change here? Are we satisfied with the way things were taken care of? There was so much noise, I call it, going on, that you really weren't dealing with reality of, yes, this did happen to him, but how can we stop it from happening to the next person? And we don't do that because we let the flowers die. We no longer take the water to keep them alive.
That's true.
We drive by now, we started out standing there and being in reverence for this life lost. And now, shoot, we're back home as usual, or doing whatever
Hey,
we were
watching
doing
our
before.
soaps, we
And watching our soaps
Exactly.
and doing that kind of
Dancing with
thing.
the stars.
That's right.
and-
And getting our hair and fingernail and toenails done.
Well, you know, there was an article, I was looking for it, and I'll pull it back out for the show tomorrow, because I talked about it, and I said I would cover it in detail. It was posted on Black Agenda Report. And what it is, it's an organization that has said, these are the things we should be fighting for beyond the marches, beyond the flowers, beyond the candles. And it's an effort to put policy forward for the change that we need to do the next step, because
Exactly.
everything drops. And so this particular piece, and I'm sorry I can't pull it up right now, but it was a good piece. It caught my eye because I too